Okay, hi, and welcome. I'm Laura Palmer. I'm a certified massage therapist with Sutter Healthcare. I see patients at our Institute for Health and Healing and Integrative Medicine Clinic in Santa Rosa. I felt really inspired to share my experience and talk about connection, presence, and the importance of understanding touch. I really thought this topic was compelling because right now in our world, our familiar way of greeting people, showing affection and celebrating has really changed. Right now, we're currently encouraged to kind of shelter in our homes and physically and socially distance ourselves. Okay, let's just all take a communal deep breath. Okay, let's try to relax a little and take a moment to talk about this topic because, really, honestly, it's more relevant than ever. Touch. The current circumstances have really limited how we touch and what that connection means. There's no more high fives or firm handshakes, hugs, pats on the backs. Perhaps right now you're joining us on our social media presence and wondering how to feel more connected. Or perhaps you're a healthcare professional and you're missing our everyday physical interaction. Or you find yourself interacting with patients or loved ones who are experiencing feelings of isolation, touch deprivation, and this is also known as skin hunger. Skin hunger or touch starvation is exactly what it sounds like. It's just being deprived of physical contact. These terms are used to refer to the psychological as well as physical effects of having little to just no touch or physical contact with people. As healthcare professionals, we're aware that touch is a powerful way of providing comfort, expressing compassion, conveying care, and really just establishing a connection with our patients. I hope sharing an understanding of touch and more importantly, providing a few ideas for navigating lack of touch and social distancing error can really help out. So let's talk about it. How do we balance the need for physical contact and how do we cope with social distancing? Humans are really social animals, right? We've evolved to reach out to each other. And touch is one of our 5 senses. In fact, it's honestly the first sense that forms. Even while we're still in the womb, we found that touch begins to develop around just the 8th week of gestation. And it starts to evolve in our lips and our nose. And then somewhere around the 12th week, we can kind of feel the palms of our hands and the soles of our feet. And then by the 30th week, the somasensory neural pathways are so refined that by birth, we're ready to kind of sense the world around us by the magic of touch. After you're born, that sense of touch continues. It continues to grow and develop. It is a powerful form of communication, and I would say it's the first language we learn as infants. It helps us gain a wealth of knowledge, and all of that is collected through our skin. It's through this interaction with the outside world that all the messages and experiences that we're having, touch can really help us understand the world around us. It's more than just processing information, though, right? Touch is physical connections, and those physical connections are integral to our psychology as well as our physiology. After all, our skin is our largest organ. It's much more than just this kind of giant bag of meat we're walking around in, right? It's more than just that simply made to be kind of this barrier between our organs and bones and muscles and the outside world. Skin, it encompasses our entire body, but it mediates our sense of touch. Surprisingly, there are 1,000 sensory neurons per every square centimeter on your skin. That's just incredible. Our skin is so sensitive, it can detect just the slightest changes in pressure and temperature. See, skin is not just structural. You might even think of it as being protective too, right? Not just in blocking out microorganisms, foreign invaders, toxins, and all those kind of things, or all the important facets of touch can include things like sensing pressure, temperature, pain, and contact. And that's just scratching the surface of how it keeps us safe. Because touch teaches us about the world around us, right? But it also informs us about ourselves. It's involved in literally every activity, and it plays just such a crucial role in our awareness. Really, to start to understand this, you first must understand the effects touch has on our lives, and also just how it benefits us, right? Touch is unique because it's both passive and active, right? It's this bidirectional thing. Touch is kind of a driver of all the complex reactions, both biochemical and physical, we experience. Physical touch kind of activates all these brain neurotransmitters, the ones that can improve our mood, reduce stress, and improve sleep. The neuroendocrine system is completely responsive to touch. Our experience with touch is biochemical. Like individual instruments in an orchestra, the complex neurobiology behind our sense of touch is so fascinating. It's complicated. It's beautiful. There's an acronym that we learned early on in healthcare, which is DOSE, and it stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, right? DOSE. And it's kind of used to describe that hormonal quartet that is such an integral player. And out of all of them, I think oxytocin is key. Oxytocin is this, I don't know, I think of it almost like magic. It's a neurotransmitter that acts like a hormone. And oxytocin plays a real role in developing our empathy and our trust. It helps manage stress and anxiety. Oxytocin is really unique because it's self-perpetuating. Oxytocin well-being increases immune system and decreases our stress hormones like cortisol. Without touch, we can't even activate these amazing hormones. Like our hormone cortisol activates our fight or flight syndrome. And the real problem with cortisol is it can suppress the immune system, including activities of the type of white blood cells called natural killer cells. So touch enhances immune functions as it increases the amount of natural killer cells in the body. And there's been an incredible amount of research. And when I was going to massage school back in the early 90s, there was just brand new research coming out of the University of Miami under Tiffany Fields. And she did a ton of research to show how touch really strengthens your immune system and improves sleep and reduces stress. And particularly what she showed is it ramps up the body's production of its natural painkillers. Like touch promotes dopamine, and when it's released, it really helps us feel pleasure and satisfaction and motivation. Neurophysiologically complex, touch actually helps lower our cortisol levels, which is a really good thing, and it increases our awesome dopamine and serotonin. Those are the happy, feel-good hormones. And it lowers hormones like norepinephrine and epinephrine. So really what you might say is in our lives we have two states of being, right? There's the sympathetic state and the parasympathetic state. The sympathetic mode is what we might think of as fight or flight. And this really can wreak havoc on your body. But positive, healthy touch can really put us out of the fight or flight. There's this amazing nerve. It's called the vagus nerve, and it's one of 12 cranial nerves. And the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. It's the longest of the cranial nerves, and it got its name kind of because it's known as the wanderer, right? So think of vagabond or vagus, right? That's kind of where that root comes from. And it innervates everything. Its job is to control your inner nerve center, basically, and it completely accesses the parasympathetic nervous system. So neurologically, the vagus nerve system acts as the opposite of the fight or flight system, right? It's special because it helps slow down and regulates what we call CNS, or the central nervous system, and it puts your body in more of a resting state. So the parasympathetic nervous system, or the PNS, downgrades these responses, and it helps keep us calm and quiet, sending blood all the way to like our digestive system and our immune system. I like to think of, and I've heard this said before, the vagus nerve is kind of a super highway that just helps us chill out. So modern day living, and as we all know, right, poses all sorts of triggers like anxiety and stress, like what are we doing now? What is going to be done next? And now, in this time, we have kind of different stresses and anxieties, right? We're feeling more isolated from social, like social activities. We're physically and socially distancing. And all this results, or it can cause kind of a malfunctioning or an overfunctioning of the sympathetic nervous system and an underfunctioning of the vagus nerve in our parasympathetic nervous system. So therapeutic massage and other forms of touch, right, including self-massage, have been really shown to help regulate this vagal tone. And touch can access so many nerve receptors and really calm you down via the skin. So it's a wonderful way to focus on yourself by nourishing and nurturing your body. You know, honestly, healing comes through everyday acts of care, and I would like to share some of my favorite sensory solutions. So, as a massage therapist, of course, obviously, I understand the value of therapeutic touch, right? That is something I live by and love to share with patients. And although receiving massage from a professional massage therapist is sometimes advised, right, therapeutically, there's also a lot to just be gained by self-massage. So we can do massage on ourselves. Self-massage brings you a kind of self-awareness. It really keeps you in balance. And most importantly, it brings attention to whatever you're experiencing physically. You know, self-massage, it doesn't have to be extravagant, right? It could just be as simple as putting your arms around yourself tightly and giving yourself a squeeze, or lying down on the floor and hugging your knees to your chest. I think, like, however you want to experience self-massage, the importance is, as you touch, to be fully present to the sensations that you feel. You know, take the time, sink in. Just try right now. Touch your shoulders, rub your hands, maybe rub your feet. You know, all of that, the touch is sensory stimulation, and that really makes us kind of nourish and feed those sensory needs that we have in our physical body. You know, you can also get some things to help you with it, right? There's a really great tool I love called dry brushing. And dry brushing actually has really ancient background, right? It's a praised practice way in like ancient Ayurveda. There's Scandinavian countries, like all over the world, there is some kind of precedence where these places and people have incorporated it into their daily routines. And here in the United States, we've been kind of doing it for some decades. But if it's new to you, dry brushing is amazing. And it upregulates the lymphatic system, which the lymphatic system is part of your immune and circulatory systems. The lymphatic system, I like to think of it as a second way system, right? Like you're really familiar with like your urinary tract and your digestive tract, but the lymphatic system is a filtration system with no pump. So where your circulatory system has maybe your heart as a pump, The lymphatic system relies on musculoskeletal movements as well as mechanical manipulation to move lymph through the body. So as a massage therapist at Sutter, I do lymphatic massage for patients. But if you don't have access to that, in addition to that is a tool, dry brushing helps move lymph through your body, but it also makes your skin look good and incredibly soft. Many people dry brush right before showering, but I suggest it's really useful to do before exercise or the sauna. To dry brush, you just can find a natural bristle brush, and you just gently but firmly brush your skin in long, comfortable strokes towards your heart, usually going over each area 2 or 3 times. At your belly, you might want to try it in a clockwise motion. While dry brushing, obviously you want to be careful. You want to avoid any abrasions or rashes or sensitive areas like your face. But it is an amazing way to kind of get everything touched and moving. There's also tennis balls. There's professional massage balls and foam rollers, and all of these provide sensory stimulation. A simple tennis ball you might have just laying around your house, right? It's easy, it's cheap, it's free, it's round, and it's a super effective and inexpensive tool that you can use. And they're good because they're flexible. They are not too stiff, and it's really easier to provide a kind of gentler pressure, which I think is good for beginners. There are massage balls on the market that you can order from the internet. We have them at our IHH retail stores, and these balls are usually firmer, enabling deeper, more intense relief. Another great tool I like to recommend to patients that I'm working with are foam rollers, and these kind of come in different shapes and sizes, but the advantage of a foam roller is it can give you kind of a larger surface area to work with. Using foam rollers or professional massage tools or tennis balls, they're really easy to apply, obtain, and you can use them quickly, and they're easy to put away. You just press on them and use little pressure points, maybe on your back or neck or limbs or feet, and they're not only therapeutic, they're pretty comfortable and fun to use as well. When your body is starving for kind of sensory stimulation, I think it's starving to be aware, right? So cultivating mindfulness can really bring attention to all of the senses of your body. Yoga, it's so amazing for a way to develop a relationship with touch. How you move your body can kind of mimic some of the same benefits as touch. Let your body move without judging it, or just kind of even giving thought to what you look like while you're moving around. You don't have to be self-conscious. Practice visualizations and meditations that kind of center your attention into your body awareness. Take a moment right now, just while you're listening. Just feel the support of the chair, the floor, or whatever surface is holding you. There's a whole world of sensation, even in the most mundane of our actions, even while we're working from home, or we're just in our busy practice with our patients, or we're by ourselves. Just everything, washing your face, stretching, moving around, feeling your feet on the ground as you shift your weight, whether you're feeling grass or carpet or hardwood floors beneath it. It's all about the mindfulness. And it's also about your posture, your position in space. It's about simple things like feeling the breeze or the air around you. How much do we notice that? Stretching, dance, running, they all give you such a chance to connect with your body and feel the flow of its movements. Your body is made for movement and creates a sensation of different pressures throughout the body. And that can really help in grounding us out, that sensory stimuli, that touch really helps move. But touch and emotion, they're both really deeply connected. And if you can't bond with people right now, You could bond with your next best friend. How about like a pet, Exchanging touch with animals can be like hugely beneficial. Companionship comes in so many forms, right? Like our warm, furry, soft, loving, cute pets. We can hug them. We can brush them. We can, talk to them. And they're so healing for us. And they help prevent and reduce those kind of issues related to touch. Personally, I'm really happy to cuddle my dog Poppy during this time, and touching her soft, warm belly and getting all those puppy licks are an ideal answer for me when I'm feeling any isolation. But if you don't have a pet, there's fostering animals or animal shelters that are sometimes open to volunteers who can walk or socialize with animals. But, there are other things, too, that help with sensory input, like simple things we might not be considering, like weighted blankets. These have really increased in popularity recently and are easy to obtain and pretty affordable. Eye pillows help us feel pressure and stimulation on our face. There's just so many little things that can help us, but none of this is meant to downplay the very real issues of touch starvation. Touch is fundamental to the human experience, and if someone is really struggling with the feeling of isolation or lack of touch, feel free to reach out yourself or ask them to look for a therapist or a primary care provider to really discuss these concerns. But, despite the lack of, and also the lack of touch and all those consequences, there's some really good news. You can find these alternatives. Don't be afraid to get comfortable with understanding all the variety of ways to experience touch and to try different things to support the need for touch. I think this practice, if you prioritize it and make sure you add it to your routines, I really trust it'll help you be healthier, physically, emotionally, and mentally as a result.